Howdy team, welcome to another episode of the Pro Podcast, whether you are watching on YouTube or listening on Apple, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever your favorite channel is. Today we've got an interview with friend, client, martial artist, owner of the largest martial artist franchise in the UK, #1 best-selling author, multi-world kickboxing champion. We're going to talk about mindset, business, marketing, and who knows what the hell else. Gordon Burcham, welcome to the pod.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. I don't own the largest martial arts franchise. I own one of the largest martial arts facilities in the UK, but I do have franchises as well. So just to be clear.
It begins with an F. We'll put it down to dyslexia.
No worries at all. No worries at all. No worries. Thanks for having me here. Appreciate
no, it's all right, mate. Thanks for coming on. It's obviously we've known each other for a little while now, and I think for the advisors and business owners that are listening, the space that we operate in is very much a B2C market. It's also, you know, you're into your property and your business side, and I think your mindset and being world kickboxing champion is something that's going to inspire the audience. So take us back to, you know, younger Gordon, as far back as you necessarily want to go, beginning of business, or let's go beginning of the kickboxing journey. I'm intrigued for myself, being a karate kid and a Jean-Claude Van Damme fan as a child.
Yeah, I mean, going back, I suppose to give the context is really going back really to my childhood before I started kickboxing and how it all came about. I struggled a lot when I was younger. I struggled to connect, really. I remember primary school was difficult in many ways. I used to go to school and it was very, I used to be kind of isolated. I only had two friends, both were girls, and both of them used to beat me up. And then I remember I got my first earring in primary school, and it was like the size of it's like a curtain ring, and I thought it was cool. And you can imagine the backlash I got for that. And then when I went to secondary school, I had a really tough time. Like, I always felt like I was on the perimeter. I was always verbally bullied. And then I got very physically bullied by a guy up my street. And it was the most horrendous time. Even when I think back to that now, it was really dark. I remember riding home from school. I'd ride home really fast, and I'd go the back way so that they wouldn't catch hold of me. And I'd throw my bike into the bush at home, running. And I'd run in every single time, and I'd go looking for a video, like VHS. Some of you might remember that, right? Put the video in. I'd look for a video that was, you know, at least an hour and a half long to 2 hours. And I'd sit there, but I wouldn't be watching the video. I'd be sitting there trembling, and all I'd be thinking was, Mom, please don't ask me why I'm not going outside. Please don't ask me why I'm not going outside. And I used to sit there in fear, because every time I went outside, I'd get beat up. And I'd be in fear. And then if I got beat up, I'd go back into my mum, and mum would clout me and say, get outside. And I just used to sit there in this absolute fear. And when I'd walk around, I just seemed to attract this conflict. And, it was horrible. And I was a really placid young man. I loved, I had a big heart, but I always felt there was something different about me, and I couldn't connect. And I had the odd friends, don't get me wrong. But I remember this, just imagine this conflict, fear, feeling for so many years. And I hated school. I didn't like it at all. And I remember one day at home, one of my few friends that I had came to the door, and he's got a big hippie beard, and he said, hey man, do you want to come to kickboxing? And I remember looking at him and laughing and going, are you insane? Like, why the hell would I want to go and do that when I'm scared shitless as it is? You know what I mean? Just like to walk outside. Anyway, he convinced me to go down, went down to this martial arts class and started it, did once a week. And I kind of was really bad at it, like so bad. I used to be a semi-professional footballer, by the way. That's another story. But so I used to play a lot of football as well, but I did martial arts, and I kept going back, even though I hated it. I didn't like it very much. And I did more classes, but I was in a lot of fear. We started doing the sparring, and I was really scared. And I remember I used to, like, when I started driving, not long after I joined, it used to take me 45 minutes to get to the dojo, but it's only a 5-minute drive, right? And the reason it took me 45 minutes is because I used to drive there. Then as soon as I got there, drive back, because I'd be like, I'm not going in. And no, you can't. Yes, you can. No, you can't. And to get there, it's been tears. I'd wipe my tears away, And then I'd walk into the dojo, go in there, get beat up, and come back out. And this was a cycle I started doing. And then I was asked to go to my first tournament. Went to my first tournament. And I remember warming up, and it was going on for my first fight in this tournament, right? So like mat sport. And I remember getting up, I remember to this day, Gary, it's so funny. I get up, I've got my boots on, I've got everything there, I've got my helmet on, all that kind of stuff. I looks up and I goes like to bow on the mats, and I swear it was Jackie Chan and Jean-Claude Van Damme in one. This guy was absolutely ripped. Honestly, he jumped in the air, he did this kick, he spun around about 3 times in the air, like, and this was the beginner section. And I remember looking at him thinking, holy shit, right? I swear to God, right? This guy was unreal. In the beginning, I was a beginner. Goes in there, and you can imagine, I got knocked down. And I tell you what, it was horrible, because I remember to this day how hard I got hit. And it's like, bang, I'm on the floor again. Bang, on the floor again. And every time I got hit, it was like getting hit by a train, but also it kept bringing back the memories of that being bullied heavily. You know, I remember at times I was being bullied. I was getting punched against cars, kicked in the nuts, stamped on, jumped on, like really heavily. So it was really horrible. And I remember going from that tournament, by the way, I got knocked down 10 times, got beat 10-0, whatever it was, pulled the gloves off, threw them across, crying. Like, this is like it's probably 18, 19 years of age. I ain't going back again. This was on a Sunday. And on the Monday, I ended up back in the dojo doing it all again. And it went through this cycle. And I never believed in myself at all. And I kept going back, and I kept losing. For 2 years, I lost every fight. I kept going. And then all of a sudden, I started to win a few. And here's where the mindset was. When you've had such a negative childhood in my way, in how I experienced school, etc., I really had this lack of belief. And I started to win a few tournaments. But here's what used to happen. Some of you might relate to this. I used to win some tournaments, but then I'd make the excuse of why I won. I must have eaten something good. The person in front of me wasn't very good. It was always a reason I won. It was just luck and fluke. It was never because I was getting better. So I used to literally, everything was a reason why, and it was it was not a positive, it was a negative. And I went through this period for such a long time of learning martial arts, getting okay at it, but didn't believe in myself. And that journey went on for such a long time for me, until I fought in my first world. I fought in the British Championships in 2012, and I was kind of thinking every time I fought, and this is, you got to remember, we're going back a long time of doing martial arts. I started martial arts when I was 16, Gary, 16 and 17. I'm 45 in June, so work that out. What, 29 years nearly? Is that right?
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I don't know what it is now. What was I, 16? I don't know. Anyway, so I'm nearly, yes, 29 years, isn't it? All my life, nearly 29 years. It's unbelievable, right? So where was that then? I forgot now. Let's have a look.
29 years of martial arts, and then you got into your world champion fight.
Yeah, so I've gone through this so long time. So it was a long time ago. And for many years, sort of 14, 15 years in martial arts, I didn't really believe in myself. Anyway, so I'm in this British title fight. And the way I used to do is, if I get through one round, I've done good. Like, it was like, wow, you've won a round, right? So this is what happened. Loads of fights, and I won the British title, right? And it was like, of course you won it because it was a lucky day. You had something, same thing, right? And I got invited to fight for England in Canada. So I'm training up that year. I'm training 3 times a day, and I end up going on. We get to go on the plane. I remember this vividly. So here's what happened: we're in England tracksuits. We're lining up in the to go on the plane. You know, the tunnel. And I'm reading this paper, right? So I'm reading the paper, and I can remember I get this thing in my head. I looks up, sees all the England team there like that, and I piss myself laughing. And I'm like, "What are you doing here? Like, why are you here? Like, what is the reason that you're here? It doesn't make any sense, man. You don't deserve to be here." That's what was going through my head. So anyway, he flies over to Canada and gets into the prelims and stuff like that. Goes through, fights the first fight. I win that. I'm like, wow, at least I won one fight. Yeah, great. Okay. And then the second and the third, and then I fought this big American and I beat him, and then I ended up like getting through to the finals, and I was like, wow, this is unbelievable. And I remember thinking, wow, you know, you're going to get a silver medal now because you're in the final. Brilliant. Wow, everyone's going to be like silver medalist. Brilliant. Made up. And I was lying in the with the England team. I was in the like the lounge in the evening, just chilling out. And what people didn't know is I've got a hip at that time. I have a hip of an 85-year-old. So my hip is completely crushed. So every day, every night, I used to lie with my legs in the air because I used to have so much stabbing pains in the hip and the groin area. It felt like my leg, it was in so much pain. And obviously, having fought there throughout that week, my hip was in agony. Anyway, I remember going to the lift, walking to the lift, and I remember thinking, well, at least get a silver medal. And something switched in my head. And I was like, well, if you carry on doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. How about you start to think and believe? And let's start some visualization. I went up in the lift. I started to visualize how the fight was going to go the next day, how it would pan out, how it would feel. And I literally visualized everything all that evening. Then I fell asleep visualizing this fight. And I woke up in the morning with the most insane sense of calm. Like I woke up, I got everything together really calmly. I'm quite an intense person, as you can imagine. And I folded my socks. Man, I'd have ironed my socks if I had an iron there. Everything was going to be perfect, right? Goes down. I have some breakfast. I'm stretching out. I'm just calm. I'm relaxed. I get to the final, and there's a few rounds in that. Fights the first round. Boom, boom, and it feels like a little bit like I'm not there, and I'm fighting. And we get to the final round. I'm on the seat. My instructor's going, look at the score. And I looks over and I'm winning. I'm thinking, well, at least you won that round and all this. Anyway, so it gets to the final and I'm just firing these shots. And this kid is 18 years of age. Like I'm 32, 33. You know, he's 18. He's young. He's won everything, multiple world titles, ripped to shred. And he looks like the guy that I fought at the first fight I ever done. Similar physique, everything, right? Anyway, fights through, and it was like every technique was just like I'd visualized. Bang, and I literally stood there. And then I kind of came to my senses. They raised my arm and said, Gordon Burcham, world champion. I looked at the crowd and I just cried my eyes out. I'm literally screaming like this, my arms back. And there was just this massive, unbelievable jubilation. And the reason I had that was not because I won a world title. It was not because I got the gold medal and beat the guy in front of me. It's because I'd beaten the biggest thing in my life, which was myself. I could finally respect and love myself. And actually, I realized I was good enough. And I stood on the podium and I gets the medal and all that. And my life has never been the same. That was the day I was born. The person that you know, Gary, was born on the podium, was born on the mat that day in 2012. And then I went on from that to win 3 consecutive world titles. I never lost a fight. I went, you know, I fought in Canada, Portugal, Italy, all over, and won all the fights. I fought everybody. And then just went on this crazy journey of development. And yeah, it's been unbelievable. So that's sort of my kickboxing journey. It's been pretty incredible now. And I run martial arts schools, and we got the biggest, one of the biggest facilities in the UK. We've got a 600-member martial arts school. We've got franchises now, and I also help martial arts school owners now. Interestingly enough, it was only a couple of years after that I opened up and started helping martial arts school owners become black belts in their businesses. So that's a little bit of the story and what we do, what I've done. So yeah.
Nice, man. And I was getting shivers through that as well. Like I was picturing the Rocky movie and all of these like hero's journey of you just absolutely going 180 degrees and overcoming what is probably most people's biggest challenge, which is themselves and their own mindset.
Yeah.
Do you believe in that saying that how you do one thing is how you do everything?
Yeah, I do. And it's interesting, like one of the things that I've learned through my experience, you're absolutely right there. How you do anything is how you do everything. Absolutely. And, you know, I think one of the things that my mom taught me that I used to get like really frustrated with my mom because I get beat up and she'd go back and she'd hit me and say, every time you get knocked down, you get back up. That's how you win. And I'll be like, oh, crying my eyes out. But what I hadn't realized was that was my greatest gift. She taught me to be resilient, and I didn't realize I was resilient. Every time I'd be driving to feeling I can't do it, but do it anyway, I was building that mental muscle even more, and I was learning. And it's like, it doesn't matter if it's difficult, do it anyway. Feel the fear, do it anyway, all that. I didn't know any of this stuff at the time. But what allowed me to do is I was always going to keep going until. And it was like, wow. And I teach that a lot now within my teachings. It's like that success is simple. For anyone listening to this, it's very, very simple. You can do, be, and become anything that you choose. But there's a magic ingredient. You've got to do whatever it takes and never quit.
Yeah.
Once you understand that ingredient, everything is possible. Anything is possible. And it takes that resilience, the discipline, the I'm never giving up. And I think most people know this, but sometimes it needs reiterating. If you keep going and you do whatever it takes and you never quit and you understand the sacrifices needed to attain that, it's unbelievable where you can get to.
Definitely. And it's the thing that was playing in my mind as you were saying that as well is the missing piece of the puzzle is that kind of that repetition. You know, how many times have you punched a bag and had that and kicked a bag in the same way that you did in that final? And that's where people potentially lose it as well, is just actually, as boring as it is, sometimes the success is just doing the same things over and over again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. If you look at successful people, and this is one of the things that you learn through martial arts, and this is why it helps with business. I teach business owners and entrepreneurs and stuff. A lot of it, most of it's mindset. Remember this, guys, strategy is easy. It's your mind that'll screw it all up. Your mindset is everything, right? But actually, when you think about it, like all you ever have to do is take the first step. You have to, like, everything that you do in life is just, if you take the first step, repeat that step again and again and again and again and again. If you repeat something often enough, you'll become it. So in martial arts, like what we teach is you learn that everything seems complex, doesn't it? Right? Everything's complex. And then we spend our time and energy in complex areas, but everything in life is basic. It's simplicity. So if you think about it, if you look at anyone who's successful, they've mastered the basics really well. If you look at a swimmer, they've just learned to do the stroke really. They haven't learned anything complex in the stroke. They've just repeated the same thing 10,000 times plus, right? They've just become a master of it, but they've not gone off outside of the simplicity. If you look at business is simple. What do you want? Let me create it for you. Let me give it to you. It's as simple as that. But we overcomplicate it with funnels and all this stuff, right? Actually, what do you want? Okay, let me find a solution. Here's the solution. Let me pay you for it. And it's that simplicity. And in martial arts, it's very the same. Like when you start martial arts, you start at white belt. And at white belt, you learn a punch that, depending on your style, you punch a front, a reverse, a front kick, a side. Basic martial arts, right? Then you go through and learn all these complex moves, right? All of them. But then you come back, like when you fight in the ring, when you fight anyone, when you fight in the street, if you have to fight in the street, it's a punch and a kick. Like it's simple. You don't stand in the air and levitate and do a 360. It's just that doesn't exist. It's movie shit. So it's like, but if you practice the basics, if you repeat them basics often enough, then it's easy. Then it's simple. It's complex by design. And it's simple by design as well, depending on what you choose. So you're absolutely right. Repetition is the mother of all skill, and martial arts teach me that. And if you look at your business right now, anyone who's an entrepreneur here listening in, I presume we have entrepreneurs on this podcast here, Gary. Yeah. It's very simple, like master marketing, then master sales, then master your customer service and your product delivery. Like that, it's very simple, really. It's not difficult. But very often people are standing over here doing stuff that is not going to get them the result. So they're complicating it. You're a marketer. If you market often enough, you'll be seen. In fact, I'll tell you a story here. When I first was building my martial arts business, I didn't know about marketing. My idea was, let's put an advert in the paper because everyone's reading them. This is at the time how old it was, right? And we used to put the words in the paper. There's a quarter-page ad. And I used to the worst ads ever, like so bad, like it was all about me. And it was just, there was no pictures, quarter-page ads in the free paper every single week. And I remember it used to cost about £125. For some reason, I remember that. And we used to do it every week. Now, even as bad as the advert was, we still used to get inquiries because they were always there. So that repetition, you can't stop it. What you put in, you get back out. So, yeah, that's my take on it.
Yeah, I love that, mate. And we segued quite a lot there between the martial arts and obviously then into business and the mindset and the resilience side is so important. But I'm very intrigued just because being a dad and with that, awkward age, it was popping into my head there where you said, I've got a 10-year-old, a 7-year-old, 4-year-old, and I bought my 4-year-old a little punch bag at Christmas because he kept hitting his sisters. And I was like, at least if he's got one in the kitchen, when he wants to punch, he can just go and touch that. Right. But for anyone who has, you know, you've obviously had a troublesome childhood. I'm very fortunate not to have done, and everything else. You know, I know in your martial arts schools, you have a lot of kids in there. Sure. For anyone who's thinking about putting their child, because some people will deem, this is my perception as well, I believe that some parents will think, if I send my child to do a martial art or karate or judo or whatever it is, they're naturally going to become more aggressive, perhaps, you know, whereas I've got a different view as to why you would do that, because I'm doing it for my kids. But you obviously spend time with these children. For children who are having a difficult time, or, you know, maybe struggle coming out of themselves a little bit, because they talk about, you know, the world that we now live in being a bit more sensitive and stuff. What's your advice for parents who have perhaps got kids like that, in a brief answer?
First of all, Gary, thank you so much for bringing this up. It's massively important. You learn martial arts so you don't have to fight. And you have to understand the concept. Like, if people are going to fight, they're going to fight. Martial arts teaches you resilience, teaches you courage, inner strength. Like, martial arts for me is as important as swimming. Because you will send your child to swimming because you don't want them to drown. You want them to learn to swim, right? You can drown in life. Life is difficult. Listen, teenage suicide is the highest in history for one reason and one reason alone. Because they're not owning who they are. They believe they should be somebody else. They're looking externally at social media. They're looking at people who are looking thinner, and they think they should be thinner. They're not loving who they are. Martial arts teaches you to look in that mirror with strength, with honor, with dignity. It teaches you to have courage to say no. It teaches you to have internal strength, like it taught me. It was not like that. Yeah, man, I am my own person right now. You will see me on social media. I don't give two shits what people think about me.
You did bad like anybody else by Zuckerberg.
But the thing is, most people care. They care what people think about them. And don't get me wrong, I have a massive heart. I spent far too long, though, worrying what other people think and feeling I didn't fit in. I'm born to be who I am. I own who I am. When I stood on that podium, I was born that day. That is who I am right now. And I unapologetically me. I want to be everything that I am, not everything I think I should be. And that's massively important. But martial arts is such an amazing life skill. It is fundamental that children do martial arts, because I've seen it save children's lives. I've also seen kids who needed martial arts. They were in martial arts. They were great kids. They needed that structure. Parents gave up with them far too easy and said, yeah, go on, don't go in there, because they couldn't be asked to take them. And now they're on the streets doing drinks, drugs, and gang crime and shit like that. I see it in my own eyes. Kids need this structure. It's easy for them to get pulled in. But martial arts teaches you to respect yourself, to respect others, to be kind, considerate. Unbelievable. It's one of the most important life skills kids can have is martial arts. So when people say it's about fighting, it's because they don't understand. You learn it, so you build that much confidence that you don't have to fight. Massively important.
Yeah, so true. And that wasn't the intention I was going to go, but you're so right in terms of, you know, the TikTok world that we now live in, and the fakery that's out there online, and, you know, the need to transform your body and change your face and change the way you look. And you're right. The thing with being in sports teams, I've always found it, I wasn't particularly academic, but being in sports teams, you know, playing football, playing rugby, going to karate. Admittedly, I didn't like it very much because it was too structured, and I did do kickboxing. Had 2 fights, didn't like getting punched, didn't have any more. Not going to lie. But it does give you that resilience, doesn't it, at the end of the day? And it does give you that little bit more of self-confidence. Equally, just knowing that you could look after yourself if you needed to.
That's the key thing. It's the confidence that comes from that. Because, listen, people don't bully people who are confident. Like, that's the truth. Yeah. You don't bully someone who's confident. It's simple, right? So there's no conflict. So if you're not exuberating a fear, and by the way, I had a victim mentality. I had fear running out of my soul. Of course, it's me. It's not their fault. I attracted that. And that's where the ownership comes, right? So it's like when you learn martial arts, you get that confidence that you don't attract them, because you can't. It's mental, isn't it? We're all energetic species. So yeah.
Yeah, I love that, Gordon. Thank you. So switching back to the business side then, one of the things that you obviously referenced there in terms of the building the martial arts facility, and now teaching other martial artists how to build their own facility. You know, this is mortgage advisors, insurance advisors, business owners. And what is your, you know, you mentioned the 4 key areas there in terms of marketing, sales, service, customer service, and you said one more, delivery, I think it was, or something on those lines.
Actually delivering the products or service. Absolutely.
Yeah. And you've got finances in that, and there's a, you know, strategy and all these other little things that you can bring in. But from the training that you've been doing, and you've been helping a, you know, martial artist, what, 3 years, 4 years, helping them to build a business?
Nearly 8 years now.
7, there you go. So just only double what I said. But
mate.
You know, if you break it down for anyone who's listening to this, because you work with people at different stages of business growth as well.
Yeah.
What's like the top tips, takeaways, tactics that you can share with these guys from what you've in your own success?
Yeah, thanks for that. You know, having worked with martial arts school owners, who, by the way, was the hardest nut to crack. Like, you're talking of a very archaic, very dinosaur industry. You know, when I started doing what I do now, by the way, just for transparency for everyone, like I remember I went to a progressive property event. I've been at loads of I don't know if people know Rob Moore is, but his events, and I remember there's a guy called Paul Preston there, and they were doing a training. I've been through all their trainings, and I was looking for something. This was in 2014, sort of 14-ish, looking for something different. I'd built, you know, 14, I think it was 2015. I'd hung my gloves up. I'd retired in the fighting arena, built my schools brilliantly, etc. But I was looking for something different. I didn't know what it was. And I remember in the property world, it was like they bought loads of properties, etc. But then there was this massive spike in how they've just helped loads of thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of people in the educating them how to do it. And honestly, Gary, this is how I sat in that audience. I just went, martial arts business mastery, literally. And I went from there in the break. I went outside, pulled my phone out, and did a first Facebook live video, which was like, no one was really doing them then, right? Not really, especially in the martial arts world. And I just started giving advice on building your martial arts school. That was it. I set up a Facebook group, just invited a few martial arts in, and just kept giving and giving and giving and giving and giving. No intention, no nothing. Just wanted to help. And I literally was coming from it. I just wanted to help people not feel the pain that I had felt when I lost my house, you know, 15 years ago, trying to build a martial arts business. When you're, you know, sitting in your house, you lose your house, you go to the bank manager, he laughs at you, you have to go and take your family into the cheapest 3-bedroom property in the street, and you're eating pasta, tomato sauce with sprinkled cheese on top so it tastes nice. When you have to go to the bank every day and put pound coins in every day because you have to not go over the overdraft. You've got bills and you're in debt up to your eyeballs, and you're drinking alcohol so heavily because you're in fear. Like, I know what that feels like. I was like, I don't want people to feel like that. Like, I know I had to learn my way to success. And I was like, okay, I always say you learn your way out of it. And one of the things that I learned via that experience, by the way, I want to share with you here, and this is massively important. It's never that you can't, it's that you haven't learned to yet. This was a massively revolutionary for me once we transformed our business. So it wasn't that I wasn't good at martial arts. It wasn't that I wasn't a good instructor. The reason I lost my home was because I hadn't learned how to run a business yet. And I needed to seek advice, and I needed to learn how to. So a lot of people use the word can't. So we use it with kids now. They say, I can't do that. No, what do you mean? You haven't learned it yet. Because you can learn anything, right? And once you've flipped the switch, so anyone listening to this as an entrepreneur, I want you to realize this is really important. It's not that you can't, you haven't learned to yet. What is it you need to learn? Because there is no difference between you and Gary. There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between you and Grant Cardone and Rob Moores. There's no difference. They're not better people. They're not better people. And I used to have this imposter syndrome, by the way. Oh, maybe they're better than me. The reality is they're not. They're not better. They've learned more than you have. So one of the biggest tips I have is learn how to. And the great news is this self-education industry is on a vertical. You can learn anything these days. But here's the thing. Where do you spend your time? Now, most people are working in their business. And the problem is they're not working on it. They're working in it. And we teach this to our business owners all the time. It's great. You've got to create balance. Yes, sometimes you've got to work in it. But working on it is you working on your personal development, your personal mindset, your personal education. Because if you don't ring fence that and you don't put time aside every day, every week, every month to listen to a podcast, to read a book, to go to a seminar, to be part of a mastermind, to be part of a coaching program, you're not going to be nourishing your brain. And because you know your mind is so complex, you know, if you don't guard the door of your mind, the weed will take over. This mind here, the weeds will take over easily. So education, self-education is massively important. And what it does, it builds belief. Because once you learn it, so there's a few things I want to share with you. Everyone knows, Gary will be aware of this as well. Like any person I've ever spoken to in the world, ever, I say, who, raise your hands. I'll say, raise your hands if you've ever learned something that you've never applied. And everyone goes, oh yeah, like, I know so many things I've not done, right? I know it, but I haven't done it, right? Action is where you'll get the results. So first of all, you've got to get the knowledge. You've got to know how to. But secondly, you've got to take action, and then you've got to review that action and refine it. So most people don't do that. So there's something I want to share with you now. I live my life by AAA. That's it. It's dead simple. First step, and this is how you create change, right? First step, I've got to be aware of what I don't know or what I know that I'm not applying. So it's awareness. Then you've got to accept it. You've got to accept that's what I don't know. And that's the hardest because people go, well, I don't want to say I'm not very good at it. Just accept it. So it's awareness, acceptance, and then action. Massive action to change it. Without the final the final action, you'll never make a change. So most people, you're in the space I'm in, really, self-educational space, etc., personal development. There's so many people in the personal development world who go, I've read the book. But when you watch who they're being, they're not being the person they're not really being that. So it's not reading the book, it's studying it, it's becoming it. So when you think about and you want to learn mastery, which is what I like to deal with, mastery is who you're being. We're human beings, right? Okay, we're not human knowers. No, I know. Amazing. What are you being today? So always remember, if you want to master everything, you've got to be it. So if you want to learn to build your business, you need to understand marketing, and you need to not just scrape the surface with Facebook ads or marketing or guerrilla marketing. You want to go and study that and master it. But one people like Gary here, go and absorb his content. I bet you most of you could actually go on his Facebook page and go and absorb all his content, go to all his videos and have a masterclass in how to build social presence and marketing, etc. But do you do it? Do you actually ring fence the time? Do you listen to the podcast religiously? Do you go to his masterminds when you should do? Do you read? Do you see? So it's like the biggest advice I've got is not just learning, but immersive learning. Actually doing it and immersing it so it becomes who you are, and then applied knowledge, like going in there and absolutely killing it. And that takes discipline. It takes massive discipline. So I'm a big believer there's no new knowledge. There's all these influencers, there's all this information, there's no new information, but there's new action takers of that knowledge. Are you the action taker, or are you just absorbing it? Are you just taking it in? Are you actually taking action on it? So that's one of my biggest advices on that.
I love that. The 3 A's. I've never heard those before, but it makes total sense. I heard something the other day that says you only get paid on what you get done. You know, it's such a simple saying, but it just really resonated with me. I was like, yes, that is so bloody true. Most
people know what they're doing. They're not doing it.
Yeah.
I know. Amount of people say, I know. Yeah, stop knowing. Start knowing you're a human being. Start being. Stop knowing. It's all surface level shit, and it's the truth. Your information overload. It's applied knowledge. Well, you'll get the result.
There's a fantastic book as well, which isn't an indirect plug for me or you or anything else, but it's called Who Not How. I don't know if you've read it, but you talked about how there, and I love that thing as well. I say it to my kids all the time. Oh, Dad, I can't do that. No, you just can't do it yet. It's like, but I play football with my little boy. He says it all the time because obviously I put skills around a 4-year-old. And just the who, not how. The book talks about the importance of, finding, rather than constantly focusing on how you can do something. Yes, it's important. Yes, you need to immerse in it, but actually find who's got the book, who's got the podcast, who can coach you, who can help you, all of that kind of stuff, because that's fundamentally what is going to get you the result quicker.
Yeah.
And then it's just paying to get that result quicker. I would much rather pay somebody to shortcut the time that it takes me by helping them, by helping me to leverage some of their knowledge. Well, we're both in the business and personal development space. So we get it massively.
I want to share with you there, Gary, if I can, just hijack what you said there. You're right. You're always paying. You're paying with time or money. Which is more important? Now, here's the kicker. Most people value, and they don't realize this, they're valuing money over their time. Money you can make. It's the easiest time in history to make money. Time, you'll never get back. You'll never get the minutes you'd have spent with us right now and the hours. It's gone forever. Time is more precious. And when you invest in education, this is what got me from where I was to where I am now, 100%. This is exactly what I did. We had literally nothing. I had nothing. I remember on the phone to a guy who was helping martial arts school learners. I remember this conversation. He said, it sounded brilliant. I said, great. Because what do you want to do? Because I want £10,000 a month turnover. I was doing £2,800 a month. It wasn't even covering the bills and the rent. We had a kid on the way. It was a mess, right? I said, that'd be amazing because we can do it in 18 months. I said, great. I said, let's get started because great. It's £3,000 for 3 months. 15 years ago. I went, you insane? I can't afford that. I can't even I put the phone down. I remember thinking, well, if you carry on doing the same thing, you get the same result. And I literally sold some stuff in the house. Just went, right, that's good. I just go all in. And it was like, I was like, right, just do it. I was like, all in. I've got them. And now here's the key. Turn your needs to must. I must do it. I had no choice. I literally burnt my bridges. I had nothing. I was below minus, or negative, everything, right? Had to make it work. And in 2.5 months, we turned it into a £10,000 a month business. And it was education. It was learning. But here's the thing. It was focused education. It wasn't learn a little bit. It was immersive. We were 15 hours a day working on the business. Learn, apply, learn, apply, learn, apply, learn, apply, learn, apply in a short space of time because we must do it. We have no choice. So any of you listening to this, it's one of the most important things in your business. How do you change your needs to musts? Where do you need to go at the leverage that you have to do it? Not I'd like to. It would be amazing. I must, I will, I am. Change your language to that. That's what I love. Personal development. For me, that's where it's at. You know, you can learn how to do Facebook from anybody, but have you got the mindset? Have you got the actionable way about yourself? Are you putting it into action? Are you getting out your own way? And one of the ways that I do that every single day, like it's an illusion. If someone says, yeah, well, just do it anyway. That's okay, but you need a metaphor. And all you got to remember is, like I said earlier on, when you fear something, fear is not real. It's just an illusion, right? It's false evidence appearing real, all that stuff, right? But here's the thing. You don't have to focus on, like in business, people get overwhelmed. So they go, wow, I've got to do a whole big thing over there, right? And it overwhelms them. But never focus, know where that is, but don't focus on all the bits in between because it will overwhelm you. Just focus on one thing. Focus on the first step. And I said that earlier on because we're all babies. When you've got something new, you're a baby. When a baby's born, right, and then it starts to, and all of a sudden they get up, you're watching them when they're gonna take the first, and then they fall down, and you don't go, oh, you little shit, get up, what are you doing? You're bloody quitter. You're useless, you are. Look at you there, right? You don't. You're like, come on, baby, come on, and you're with them. You're nurturing this, and one more, because you know as a human being, when that baby takes one step, guess what's happening? They are walking, man. They are going. They will take the second step. And when you think about your life, well, it's the same thing in every challenge that you have. You're just a baby again, and it's fearful, and you're not sure. Just step up, step back, put your chest out. Just take one step. Pick up one phone. You've got to make a call. Don't just pick the phone up. Don't think about what you're going to say. Pick it up and let your genius unfold. You know, if you want to write an ad, don't think about it being perfect. Just write the ad. Get it out there. It's better to be done and out there and be in action, taking a step, than it is to procrastinate in perfection, which is what most business owners do. They want it all perfect. You want to be perfectly imperfect. You want to take one step and let it roll and see, because that's where your genius will unfold. You are so powerful. And if, as a business owner, you know, we've got to have faith. We've got to step with faith. We've got to take one step and just go in there and not worry about the outcome. We've just got to take that first step. And if you do that, you'll be amazed where you end up on your journey. It's unbelievable. And I'm sure, Gary, you've done that many times. You've had to take it one step of faith, and then all of a sudden you just keep walking and you end up in this unbelievable area of your life. So I wanted to share that.
Yeah, it's this. You'll know this saying. I've said it so many times in this podcast. The audience is going to be massively bored of it. But NLP, there is no failure. There's only feedback. And you fail forwards. You learn from the mistakes. You get up. The same as getting punched in a ring. You get knocked down. You get back up, and you go again. And you learn to put your fucking guard up.
Yeah,
keep going.
Absolutely. I say, how do they learn to protect themselves? Get punched in the face a few times. They'll put that down. No question at all, right?
Without a doubt. So you said there as well, one of the things, just to raise to the audience, if you notice, audience, as well, I said to Gordon, what is your top tips, tactics, strategies for business that he teaches everything else? There was actually no strategy or tactics in there at all, because you can learn Facebook, you can learn social media, you can learn to build a funnel, you can set up a system. But the thing that he came back to was the resilience, the mindset, the getting out of your own way, and actually getting into the realm of understanding yourself better, because that's the only thing that's realistically stopping you taking the action and getting the result that you realistically want. So it was quite interesting to see that take shape there as well.
Well, I always say you work harder on yourself than you do on your business. It's you first. It's the same thing. Like and the reason being, I've mentored hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of martial arts owners, business owners, entrepreneurs, right? Honestly, and it's always the same pattern. Loads of people learn how to do Facebook ads, for instance, learn how to do sales, but they haven't got the right mindset. They don't believe. They're in fear. So it's not, the strategy's easy. It's you. You got to work harder on yourself, and that's why I wanted to mention it. So thanks for bringing that up.
No, definitely, and thanks for obviously sharing the wisdom thus far. And going into that, playing on your, I think we've got to ask you actually about the business, because I didn't realize you'd lost a business in such a bad way at that point in time, and we're eating, out of the can of beans and putting cheese on it just to give it some flavor and everything else. That's one of the. I went through my own personal challenge in 2015 in business, but it was never to the degree that you've just mentioned you've gone through. Was that your hardest time in life, harder than childhood and obviously everything like that? How did you?
I think being bullied was tough. It was tough. And I'm, being in this but I'm so pleased I went through that, by the way. I'm so pleased. And every time you go through a challenge, they're the greatest gifts of life. Like, they are where you grow the most. And so I don't think one was bigger, better than the other. They're all unique in their own way to help build me to where I am today, for sure. It was tough. Like, when you are down and out, I remember sitting there many times thinking, how are we going to get out of this shit? Like, it was horrible. Where, especially as a male, where you feel, males are quite simple creatures. We want to provide and protect. As long as we're doing that, we feel like we're valuable in this world. That's what males do. That's why many males are workaholics. I'm not saying women are not, because loads of women are unbelievable. I love ladies and women. They're just unbelievable. But the fact is, males are a bit more simple. They want to provide and they want to protect, and that's about as simple as it gets, right? When you're not doing that and you feel like you're not providing, you're not protecting your family, you feel your self-worth diminishes. So it's very, very tough. And obviously, with the victim side of me being bullied, I think, they were both hard, but trying to get through that is hard. But what I want to share with everyone, which is really important, it's in the dark times that the sunshine will return much brighter. Like, you can't have one without the other. What I've learned in life is absolutely beautifully balanced. If you're having a hard time right now in your business, get fucking excited, excuse me, but get so excited, because I can promise you, as dark as it gets, you will get equal light. It will equal upside. You always get balance, and that's what's beautiful. Like, and if you're having a great time right now, get ready, because it's going to drop, and that's life. It wants to balance you out. So it's not one or the other. Life is balanced. So, you will always get through. And I think if you speak to most people, and they'll talk about the hardest times of their lives, or the difficult times, or the challenging times where they think, oh no, if they lose a family member, or they, their relationship breaks down, or they lose their business, they will always tell you that they learned so much through that they wouldn't actually ever not have that, because it was one of their biggest learning experiences. So I'm very grateful for the journey I've been on. I wouldn't be the person I am today without them.
Yeah, nice. Good attitude to have at the end of the day. What else can you do as well, I think, is the thing from that. But so many people allow that to beat them down. But I think you're probably your martial arts background and your childhood and overcoming that adversity in that sense probably helped you in the business sense as well, didn't it? To come out the other side of that stronger.
100%. And obviously I didn't know that at the time, but absolutely. Remember, guys, it's not what happens to you, it's what you do with what happens that's most important. And it's always, I think it's the Jim Rohn thing, isn't it? The same wind blows on us all. The winds of challenge, the winds of difficulty, the winds of change. It's just a set of your sail. It's how you deal with it. And that's personal development. It doesn't matter all this stuff. People say some witchy-woo stuff. It doesn't matter. You can go and learn Grant Cardone's 10X it, but if you've not got the mindset and resilience, you ain't doing it. Like, it's all down to personal development. So yeah, it's an unbelievable journey.
Love that. And in your personal development journey of looking at, failing forwards, just giving it a go and see what happens. We obviously had the pleasure of helping you buy your latest home, which at the time just felt like we were helping you buy a home. And then Gordon says, in his unimaginable, I can do anything. If someone tells me no, I'm going to find a way. And wants to go and absolutely develop the home of most of our dreams. And you've never developed anything, right?
No, never built a house, never built a home. And again, it's an interesting story, isn't it? I mean, by the way, I want to share this, and Gary's not paid me for this, but Gary and his team are phenomenal with this project and how they financed it and helped finance the deal for us and help us through some, through our business. And by the way, let me be clear here. We were, I'll give you the story because I think you'll like it. So we decided in December 2019. And by the way, my father died in 2000. So I'm going to give you some context, and this will make a bit of sense now. My dad died, my hero died in August 2019. It was ripped my heart apart. And I decided at the point when he passed away, I was lying there. I had this unbelievable sense of regret that came to me. You wouldn't believe it. And I at the time, I thought I was regretting not spending more time. But what I realized it was my dad's energy. And he was telling me, don't live life with regret, son. It was unbelievable. It was so powerful. I went from there, I flew to, because my dad wasn't going to be buried for at least a month. There was things going on. So I flew to France. My mom wanted me to. We'd had it booked. Flew to France just to get away, south of France, for 3.5 weeks. And I sat there and I just wrote a book called Live Life Happy. And Live Life Happy was all in my dad's name. It was about not living with regret. It was about being the best you can, living for now, like all of how to create change, all this personal development stuff just came out of me, Gary. It was unbelievable. It was so therapeutic. And then, that was in the August. And of course, then I'm starting to think of living life for regret. And I was like, no, I want to live in a much more higher plane of life. And so I was like, no, we're living in this house. I want more space. My child's autistic. He loves freedom. I want a bigger house. Went looking. So we got this house that we'd been purchased. We'd had it for 6-7 years. We'd done the extension, etc. It was like, right, let's go and have a look what's around. Looked around some houses. I was like, right, what we'll do is we'll look what's around. And we looked at this house that was there. It was up for rent. And it's a couple of $2,500 a month. But it was like our dream home. Like, it was amazing. I was like, we're going to go in there. And as they didn't really want to rent it. They wanted to sell it. But I went and did my sales tactic on them, if you like, and convinced them to rent it for us. I said, I'll buy it off you in 12 months. All we need to do, because we couldn't get the finance, we just needed to, in April, you know what it's like, get a remortgage. We had to get our company finances sorted. So we was like, we're moving to there. I was like, right, we'll sell our house. We're moving to there. We'll sell our house, but we're moving in there now. So we still had our house. And we put it on the market. We moved into this house in December 2019, and then 2020 happened. So we sold the house sort of January 2020, the end of January, sort of January, February. Great, sorting it all out. And then something called COVID happened. And this virus thing happened, and then everything shut down. And all of a sudden now it's like, right, the house is still going through. We had to manage this house sale going through. We're in this big house. This house was £750,000 house that we were in. It was beautiful. But I was like, whoa. And then it got to like May. And I was like, we need to do something different here. Something doesn't feel right here. Yes, we can purchase a house. But I guess I always love to ask my questions. What are the other options? What else is out there? What else can we do? So literally, you wouldn't believe this, Gary. We were like, looking, and we started coming out sort of end of May, June, so looking, and they were still doing them like that you could do house views, but it was like stay away from me kind of thing, right? So it's like we're looking, and
viewings were shut down for people who
that's right.
Value was going out and value houses.
That's it. And I remember I looked at this and I kept coming back to this house, and I was like, look at this house, and it was a pink house, and it was this pink house, and it had, you've seen it go, right? And it had this forest, right? It was just like weeds nearly up to the house, and there was green growing in the, and we couldn't really see what it was, right? And my wife's this kind of person. She's very like into quantum physics stuff. She's really spiritual, right? Wim Hof, and she's going to do meditation for a week. Well, it's crazy with Joe Dispenza, I think, someone like that. Anyway, so she's going to do all this mad stuff, right? Anyway, so she's not really into social media, etc., and nothing. She doesn't get excited about anything. It's just not who she is, right? So I let her, what about this? And literally, she came over. She went, "We're buying that house." I went, "What? No, we're buying." She literally looked at it. She goes, "I want to live there. We're buying that house." I went, "What? Look at the state of it." So it's like, okay, let's have a look at it. So we're trying to work out what was there, and you couldn't really see it from the top. So we went and we got a viewing. This guy's like 40 miles away from us, like giving a house viewing, like, you know, so it comes in old space. We had to take some shears with us to cut through the jungle, right? And it was like falling apart and etc. 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 So all that going on. So I was like, right, I need to work out what this is. When I had to look at the inside it, thought, oh, this is good. But what we didn't realize was the perimeter was quite big. So it was stuck on 1/3 of an acre. I was like, okay. So I said, right, let's see if we can get a deal on it. I goes, right, what would they like? Well, they were offered 375, you know, before COVID, and they wouldn't accept. It's a probate house. It's been in the family for decades, you know, all this. I said, great. So I gave them an offer for 395, I think. I said 400, and in the final bit, I went 410. I said 410 right now or not at all. I'm going somewhere else. And they accepted. It's like, great. Then I had to work out how am I going to do the mortgage. So it's like, Gary, help me, I'm doing this. So I get on the phone to Gary. And they were brilliant around this. Unbelievable. How Sally was absolutely phenomenal. Unbelievable lady. Really helped to structure the deal. Because obviously we got a problem now. We've got a house we've just sold. We're in a rented accommodation, which is 2.5 grand. We've got to try and solve this, put a deposit, all this kind of stuff. So it was a bit crazy. And we had to get our company account sorted. So it's mental, but they managed to sort it beautifully. Anyway, so we get that through. And then we had to go. So they did brilliant with that. And then we go, shit, now we've got to build the house. So it's like, we've got to build this whole house. Don't know how about building, etc. Didn't know anything. Just went, screw it, let's do it, right? Got an architect in, designed it. And then I had to manage the project. Never managed a project before. And we had the most horrendous challenges that you would have met. I mean, you talk about tough times. I would put the house building up as one of the toughest times in life, let alone the business. Now, of course, being bullied was tough and losing the house. But I tell you, at times it was tough in a different way because I had to find solutions every hour. Because, you know, when you've got, you know, £150,000, I think we had 130,000 pounds we had to put into the project. And when you spent the £130,000 and the house had got smaller and it was supposed to get bigger, you know, you got a problem, right? So it's like, what? How do you deal with this? So it's like, how do you refinance? How do you do this? And I had to go back to Gary, and we're like trying to borrow money and all this. But I had a vision, and I had a vision of this house and what it would look like, what it would do for my family. And we went through so many challenges. There was so like the builder was awful, the plumber was awful, everything was awful about it. But we found solutions and found a way, and we managed to. Got this house, and we had still the rent. We had to stay in the rented house, and we had to juggle that money and all that kind of stuff. And in the end, then we managed in May 2021, we moved into our home that we built, which is for me. I wake up every single day, Gary, and I feel you want, like, you know, some people, they go into a house or they get a car, and then soon it just becomes the house. And this is my dream. Like every day I wake up with so much gratitude. I go to my window. We've got glass all along the back. We've got a veranda being built out there. It's on 1/3 of an acre. We're in the most amazing location. And that was from a vision and help from yourself. I feel so blessed. And what it taught me was this. And honestly, guys, this is what I want to teach you. I still have no idea how we managed to do that. I have zero idea how we did it. Isn't that interesting? I still now, even though I've done it, I still don't know how I did it. That's how powerful we are. When we've got a vision, when we take action, when we jump anyway, we will always find our way through the jungle. We'll always find our way through the darkness, through to the light. And yeah, it's one of the most amazing experiences, challenging experiences. And I can say I built a house, you know, I built our own home with our dream home. And we're just about to actually, Gary, you don't know this, but we're building out the balcony and having a gym built underneath, and it's just going to be absolutely phenomenal. So, and we're going to have a triple garage with a annex built on top. So yeah, exciting.
Yeah, amazing, buddy. And it's like, I remember the conversations as you were going through the build, because obviously we're part of the same mastermind where it's property orientated, and you're asking all the property related questions. I was like, honestly, you're literally, you've just got a can-do attitude, and it's like anything is possible. I don't think I've actually met anyone who literally believes that anything is truly possible. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if you believed you could jump off the side of a building and fly. It's like, yeah. But going on to your house, I think the key thing that you said that's really vital, your big vision was such a big why for your family and for the lifestyle that you want to live. And your wife had obviously chosen the house as well. That is such a great motivator to make anything possible, isn't it? That's the real reason that you just plowed on through, never accepting no, wanting to go to the next route, trying different options. And at times, I'll be completely honest, you know, it was challenging for us because, you know, we were pushed outside in some respects, where it was like, yeah, we don't like saying no either, but it pushed us to keep going and keep going and keep going because of the challenges around, you know, all the circumstances and everything else. But yeah,
it was amazing, mate. It was amazing. And you guys were literally, mate, like so good. Like, I recommend Gary and their team because they go the extra mile. I'm not saying this because I'm on Gary's podcast. It's the truth. I'm a straight up person, as you could probably tell. You know, it is as it is. You know, we wouldn't have got it without you guys. I think, you know, you really helped us. But the thing I wanted to share is that it's interesting, isn't it? At times, there was so many road, like literally, it's like, I don't know, we're going to have to stop the project. But because the vision's so high, and what can we do? What can we do? Right. Bang, the solution comes up. That's what happens when you've got vision. You won't take no for an answer. And like I said earlier, do whatever it takes and never quit. Quitting wasn't an option. Failure wasn't an option. You just go ahead and do it. And what I do want to share, you said to me that, you know, you think that I'm a person who just has absolute faith in I can do anything. That's a learned skill. I never used to. It was a learned skill. So people think, oh, they're just born like that. Remember, I didn't believe in anything. So it's complete 180. Now I just believe you can do anything. Anything and everything is possible with the magic informant. Do whatever it takes and never quit.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that's a perfect segue into a perfect ending that is, you know, takes us all 360 degrees from where we started with that same message and ending on that same message. I feel massively inspired, mate. And, you know, it's a pleasure knowing you. It's a pleasure being part of the same masterminds with you, learning from you, listening to you. Luckily, not getting punched by you. But no, I'm really grateful for the time that you've given, you know, this afternoon to the audience, to me, the inspiration, motivation that you've brought to the pod. So, yeah, thank you, my man.
Thank you for having me. I'm absolutely blessed to be here. Thank you.
The podcast is called The Pro Podcast. And I always like to finish with, what does pro really mean to you?
Being the best version of you. Like every single day. Being the best version, like every single day, waking up, being a professional in your life as yourself, like being the best you can possibly be, being the best father, being the best husband, being the best employee, being the best employer, being the best business owner, being the best friend, being the best servant. That's what I believe.
Love that, Gordon. Thank you very much indeed, my friend. I look forward to catching up with you soon in the flesh and in the person. But thanks for your words of wisdom today.
Thank you.